Hello, I'm Hazel,
I'm Emma.
and this is Team 14's reflection on race and ethnicity in gaming.
Now, to introduce us to this wonderful topic of Plotathon 2026, um, over the course of this Plotathon, we decided on a topic that about race and ethnicity and how they affect gaming habits. We were given a subset of the Gamer Study 2024 with 1,467 US adults surveyed.
For our data cleaning, there was a significant amount of blank responses in many columns, as well as duplicate entries, which we removed accordingly. And we also made corrections such as typos and improper capitalization for demographics. There was also a challenge that occurred when we tried to get averages of Booleans, so we changed them to numerical counts. And we also came up with a numeric system for questions to make entries consistent, where 1 is equal to true and 0 is equal to false. Blank responses were treated as a -1, which is the equivalent of prefer not to say.
I was the data analyzer for this Plotathon. I imported data into Python and analyzed it as different visuals to try and find a story that we could tell with our data. I used many different visuals to do this. I took the difference between means depending on whether an option was clicked true or false. I used heat maps to see the localized points which were most used in our data set. I used scatter plots to see where the potential could lie for different possibilities, and I used bar graphs to see the actual numbers and visualize them. Now, I lost a lot of time doing this, trying to figure out a story to tell, because this dataset was more challenging than many datasets that we've heard were worked on earlier. But we ended up finding a story based on a graph that we found, which was genres that people play based on their race and ethnicity. Now, I was also visualizing the data, and I learned many different chart types on top of the ones I learned to analyze the data, and attempted to tell our story with multiple different data types. Now, I created many different graphs using matplotlib and Seaborn and tried to make them look visually appealing and match our color scheme. And I compiled it all into Canva, and Hazel did her thing. So I covered it.
So, for our infographic, this was originally going to be designed like a college research project. However, it's very text heavy, and the design was just very bland and generic. So instead, we pivoted to a more visually appealing layout that was easier to digest and had more room for visualization as well as other graphics. So, to conclude, we learned how to analyze data in Python. We also gained applied experience in data visualization and storytelling. And also, big thank you to everyone at Plotathon to making this possible.
Yeah, this was such a fun experience. Thank you.
Thank you.